Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Once again, you are welcome here on the Tribune of Awakening Consciousness. So as soon as you are here, start by sharing this video conference. Yes, you need to share the video conference. You need to announce the good news. It's very, very tense on the side of Bukavu. It's tense regarding the elements of Corneille Nangaa, the elements of M23. It's so tense. Corneille Nangaa has come out of his reserve, his silence. He has started to lament in a writing he made about the Great Lakes. Corneille Nangaa began to cry. Yes, we will look at the content of what Corneille Nangaa had to say. You do understand that they are against the wall, but especially also what is happening on the side of Bukavu. The strategy of the Wazalando is truly a very, very strong strategy. We will say bravo to the Wazalando. We will say congratulations to the Wazalando. So give a lot of likes. Share this video conference to support the Wazalando as much as possible who are fighting for the Republic. It's very strong. They trapped the M23 elements in Bukavu. So ladies and gentlemen, let's go into the depths. I remind you that since this morning, 6 o'clock, after having recovered the weapons that were in the ammunition depot abandoned by the Congolese soldiers, the Wazalando liberated Kamayola. That was yesterday. And they headed towards Bukavu. They arrived in Bukavu via the hill, where Camp Thivi is located. So they came there. They temporarily managed to reclaim the camp and drive away the M23 people. They then descended into the city of Bukavu. They started exchanging gunfire. From 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., they exchanged gunfire with the M23 rebels, the Rwandan soldiers, and their M23 auxiliaries. So they retreated. The M23 soldiers, the M23 rebels temporarily retreated. And that's when we saw the Wazalando wandering around some parts of the city. However, it was a strategic respite, for the M23 people. So what happened? Sometime later, they came back in force. The Wazalando were concerned not to cause many citizens to go to eternal rest. Since the Wazalando are in civilian clothes, they don't have anything that really distinguishes them from other citizens. The Wazalando turned back. They went to the surrounding villages from where they came. Some scattered into the bush. So from there, the Wazalando were there and observing. They began to observe the situation from end to end. It was during this moment that the people of M23, the R, let's say it like that from now on, since the word, when pronounced, affects the algorithm. The R of M23 decided to call a meeting as the city was really in panic and all that. They called a meeting where the press was present and all that. One of the leaders was there in front of the camera. We saw this video that became very viral. But he was already there as he was getting ready to go on stage, take the microphone and then speak to reassure the population, maybe to say, well, don't be afraid, everything is under control, etc. While he was there, facing the press, he placed his hand on his heart. His heart was beating steadily. His heart was beating, but truly. And there he was right. His heart really had to be beating because what he was expecting was serious. One more moment, he was going to go to rest. Eternal. One more moment. Because the Wazalando had come to infiltrate the meeting place. I tell you that the Wazalando are very brave. When we talk about the Wazalando, we are referring to the young patriotic volunteers who operate as volunteers alongside the army. But it is this group of young people who decided to take on these responsibilities, since the army is many members of the army are complicit with the SR of M23. So the Wazalando were there. As soon as the gentleman was about to step onto the podium, you hear boom, and you had to see him crouch down. He couldn't get onto the podium, the meeting didn't take place, and the exchange of gunfire started again. But we know that the embassy, to find an excuse, they told the people that they don't want to fight in the city, since the Wazalando are in civilian clothes, the civilians are also in civilian clothes. So if they fight in the city, there will be collateral damage. Many civilians risk being mistaken for the Wazalando. Well, in this part we can understand, but in the meantime, the Wazalando are still around. And the Wazalando, they have issued an alert, a call. The Oise Alendo said them that they should surrender. Yes, the Wazalando have asked all the M23 rebels and AFC present in Bukavu to lay down their arms and to surrender freely to the FARDs and the Wazalando. Otherwise, if they do not do it, they will face the severity of a joint operation that will be launched in the coming hours. So, here is the situation faced by the birds, the M23 and AFC rebels find themselves in. So, in this situation, the M23 no longer knows what to do on the Bukavu side. They are stuck. According to their own words, the Wazalando are in civilian clothes. The civilian populations are in civilian clothes. So, this makes the task very difficult for them. However, the Wazalando are preparing to come down in the coming hours. That is why Corneille Nangaa begins to lament. He started crying, whining, exposing his situation to elicit sympathy from people. In this text, what does he say? Let me check. He says in Kinshasa, what we have left. He says in Kinshasa, there you go. He says we are sentenced to death. So what do we have left? These are people who have nothing left to do. These are people who fight knowing they have nothing left to do. So all the members of the M23, they are fighting because they know they have nothing left to do. In Kinshasa, they have been sentenced. They have been sentenced to death. So he says this, he says, all of us have been taken. Our members, our families are in the prisons of the Demiap, of the Elaner. He says, even my own wife is among those who are sentenced. She committed the sin of having Corneille Nangaa as a husband. He continues, he says, my brothers, my fathers-in-law are all sentenced to death, and all my possessions have been auctioned off. I'm not alone. My colleagues, as you see there, with the group of 4, their family, are either arrested or on the run, or sent to eternal rest. And you have justice in hand, held like a remote control. Stop this one, send him to eternal rest. He says, should we stay like this? No. The sanctions mean nothing to us, especially since they are unjust sanctions. These are the lamentations of Corneille Nangaa. They took his entire family, his in-laws, his own wife, and put them in incarceration. Even those elements with which he is evolving, those who have not been sent to eternal rest, are in prisons. Some are on the run. So, faced with this dismal situation and seeing that they are still not winning, that's why they start to cry, whine, and lament. Corneille Nangaa therefore says that they must continue to fight since they have nothing left. He has no more possessions, no more family, nothing. Akinchacha, he is condemned to eternal rest. So even if he stops today, they will send him, so he prefers to go to eternal rest on the battlefield. So there. And especially, what pains him are the sanctions that the United States have imposed on them, whether it's the United States or others. In any case, they are condemned. So here is what he is saying here, is what he lamented about. To return to the leader, one of the M23 leaders, who should go on stage and then speak, say what he thinks. What is his name again? I'll give you his name. His name is Willie Nangaa. There you go, Willie Nangaa. He is the one who should go up and speak. But Willie Nangaa was completely intimidated. His heart was beating very, very hard. He even trembled. Fortunately, he escaped death. And so it's after all this that Corneille Nangaa speaks. It's sad, it's pitiful. But if they are smart, they just have to listen, lay down their arms. If it's about the issue of their conviction, well, politically it can be negotiated. But for now, here's what's happening. We don't know what will happen next in Bukavu, but we will continue to closely follow this news. Everything that will result from it, we will come back here on La Tribune des Verts de Conscience to be able to discuss it. Thank you all. I will be back shortly with more news. This was the voice of your one and only Samurai.